Hi, Mr. Barry. Good morning, and welcome to the National Critics' Choice Assignment Review from New York. And tell us more about the Chinese opera here in Singapore, and why would you be so keen as a Caucasian to promote Chinese opera here in Southeast Asia?
Yes. From what we understand, there is a limited and declining interest in Chinese opera in Singapore, and in particular there's a gap between the older generation and the younger generation, and what the opera groups in Singapore experience is that there are fewer and fewer younger people who want to become performers and want to be in the audience to listen to Chinese opera. Now, why I think this is so important is, in my view, this is an integral part of Chinese culture and Chinese heritage. And I believe that so much is disappearing in these days that we should join forces to ensure that this is kept here in Singapore and this is protected for the future.
Now, how important is Chinese opera to you, and how important is it for Singapore and Southeast Asia?
Yes. Well, for me, it's a relatively new phenomenon. I know very well European opera, and I've loved and enjoyed European opera for many, many years. When I returned to Singapore 3 years ago, I wanted to become more acquainted with Chinese opera, because apart from the acting and the music, Chinese opera has a number of features that you don't even find in Western opera, and therefore it's a form of art that I believe is very, very interesting, particularly for those who understand a little bit more about it.
Now, what strategies would you take as from now to 2013 to promote Chinese opera to the younger generation?
Okay. Well, I have joined an initiative by a Singaporean lady by the name of Jeannie Tian, who feels actually about Chinese opera the same way I do. She has asked me to join her, and together we have, first of all, interviewed many people who are in the Singapore scene of Chinese opera, including Jeannie Tian, Mr. Chu, to find out what their views are on the declining interest in Chinese opera, the difficulty of opera groups to raise funds, and our first activity is to gather as much information as we can. Secondly, we want to present a white paper about this subject to the National Arts Council, requesting for assistance and support in a campaign to educate the younger generation about Chinese opera and to promote the art form in this country.
Do you speak some Chinese yourself?
Very little.
So, Mr. Barry, now, what kind of future do you see for Chinese opera by 2030? Do you think that with this initiative that you are going to propose, you will have more young people participating in Chinese opera?
This is not something you can change overnight. That's why you need to start an education campaign and sustain that effort for a number of years, so that young people learn to appreciate this form of art, and also, to maybe to a lesser extent, get something back from the heritage of their parents. Everybody speaks Mandarin nowadays, and the dialects have almost disappeared, particularly with the younger generation. And still, it's part of the heritage and the history of their fathers and forefathers. And I believe that there is also a place for that in Singapore.
How can our viewers, Mr. Barry, get in touch with your organization to probably impart sponsorship or in kind or news updates on this initiative? Is there any way that they can contact you?
Yes, they can certainly contact me through some of the other organizations that I help with their marketing and communication and sponsorship, such as the Dingyi Music Company and the Singapore Chinese Orchestra. I'm also involved in a small Hainanese opera group called Chongchu Society of Singapore. So I can be contacted through any of these organizations.
Well, once again, Mr. Ferry, thank you for joining us here at the National Critics' Choice, the Stienberg Review, and we look forward for this initiative to be a reality.
Thank you very much.